And if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat at the end. But we wanted to give you all an opportunity not only to meet your teachers for next year, but to see where we are with our strategic plan and the state of the school. We obviously start every single one of these slides with the vision, and the vision is really your children. Thinking about St. Benedict's as a jumping off point, or when they graduate from 8th grade, we're looking to them to be confident, courageous, and compassionate leaders. And by leaders, that definition is not the typical definition that most people think of, standing at the front of the bow, telling everybody where to go, but understanding what makes them unique and using what they're really good at to lead people. So as they get into K through 8, all the way to 8th grade, we'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's what makes us unique. That's what makes us sort of look to each other for understanding of diversity. And that is all grounded in faith. And then the mission, you're going to hear from your teachers today. They embody it. They are always inspiring learning in the classroom and beyond. They're nurturing growth, not just academically, but social, emotionally, and in faith. And then embracing the values of Episcopal education. That's a lot of words that we put together in a Venn diagram here. If you've ever walked into an Episcopal school, the two blue circles are very clearly Episcopal values. We're inclusive, we're diverse, we're centered on community. What makes that happen is to have love and respect for each other and have that being grounded in faith. And at St. Benedict's, the collaborative learning environment that you're about to hear from the teachers working together bleeds into the students working together, and all that comes together to create academic excellence. So why do we have a preschool through 8th grade? Why aren't we moving towards high school is what a lot of people who in admissions are asking, people who are about to graduate. Are we going to start a high school? The question is no. We're really in the midst of trying to create students who understand their potential and not having to look up to a high schooler who is doing all the things that they do in high school, but being able to ground themselves here, understand what their leadership style is, building that confidence, being able to advocate for themselves, whether it's through learning or understanding who their friendship group is. And when they go out into the world, St. Benedict's has given them the opportunity to understand that it's a safe place to fail. Being able to let our children fail is not something as parents we want to do, but it's important because it builds a resiliency. It gives them a sense of self and an ability to move out. And so when they leave St. Benedict's, they're looking towards high school kind of the way a lot of us look towards college. So they get sort of a practice run at high school, but by the time they leave us, they know their learning style. So they're looking for schools that fit that. And then when they get to college and the college application process, it's the same. These are some of the high schools and schools that St. Benedict's partners with when children either graduate or use us as a jumping off point. You all recognize these by name. The W on the right top corner is Westminster. We have children in all of these schools. And then the Cobb Academic Division is the magnet school program that incorporates 7 high schools around Cobb County that you don't have to leave your home in order for children in our zip code area to go to other schools. So each school in Cobb County has a specialty, whether it's the IB program at Campbell or the STEM program or math or pre-med or even performing arts. There are schools all around Cobb County that children from St. Benedict's apply and get into. So this is just a glimpse into the future for you all. This is our strategic plan. Those of you who've been with us for more than 2 or 3 years, you know we have 8 objectives in our strategic plan. A lot of them are redundant, but the big ones I'm about to share with you. Starting with marketing, that may, for those of you who hear that word, conjure up images of pretty pictures or colors or fonts. But what it really means for us at St. Benedict's is who's sitting next to your child in the classroom. So as you look through these bullet points, That's all this is doing. It's allowing us to have a uniform message when we're on the playground, at the ball field, at the swimming pool, meeting with people around the barbecue, to share what St. Benedict's is, who we're about, and attract the kind of families that we're hanging out with and the children that we want our children to hang out with. So this is what this is all about. We've been doing that. Nicole Preem came on and has knocked it out of the park. As we are beginning into the enrollment period, you all know these dates, hopefully, and have gotten the email, but just to reiterate those. And being a school that has two working families, most of our families both work, financial aid is a big part of that. So here are the dates for that. Again, marketing is mostly word of mouth. And so what you all do matters. You had an opportunity, whether you knew it or not, on Tuesday to pick up a sign that looks just like this in front of you. Imagine a school that champions childhood. You could have put that real estate sign in your yard. If you missed that opportunity, we still have plenty left. If your HOA doesn't allow that, Facebook is an opportunity. Using Nextdoor is an opportunity to brag about what St. Benedict's is doing. Displaying a sticker on the back of your car, or simply just talking to your friends. Summer camps are open. I heard, Angela, let me know if I'm wrong, but I think about 150 people have already registered in the day one of summer camps being online. So if you need to divert yourself from the strategic plan for a little bit to make sure your child gets into summer camp, I understand. This is a big part of who we are. We've been aligning this with our curriculum, having kids have fun. We've also provided more childcare during holidays, which is a big part, again, of us being a school that has two working families in their household. You all love this word, don't you? Fundraising, the Acorn Fund, it comes around every year. It's important for us to reiterate that tuition doesn't pay for everything in our operating budget. Another 3 to 4% gets carried by you all. Giving and the generosity that you have been able to provide for St. Benedict's allows us to do extra things. So professional development, technology in the classroom, integrating Spanish programs, just anything that you can think of that is just the extra mile, that's been provided by the Acorn Fund. And this year, we have taken our diversity and inclusion initiative one step further. The gifts that you have been able to give right here are representative. The percentages that you give allow us to do so much more with our money than just the amount that you give. It tells a story, and the story that it tells is that we're all in. Our community is doing everything we can to amplify what we do for our students. And that attracts outside donors, whether it be families or corporations or a big foundation that we're about to share, and you have probably already read. Again, back to allowing us to do extra things. We've talked about being a diverse community, and talk is talk. Putting rubber to the road is a big part of this, and as a school, curriculum is where it happens. And so enriching our curriculum program by using Pollyanna to increase racial literacy is the next step. So our teachers are going to be trained in that pre-planning beginning at school year next year. And they're also at some point in the middle of next year going to be partaking in a survey, an inventory basically, that puts St. Benedict's on a scale of how welcoming we are, how well we're doing on diversity, inclusion, and equity in the school, and then provides us with an opportunity to increase that. So I did talk a little bit about the big foundations being attracted. STEM is one of our objectives in our strategic plan. And when you hear this word, we want you to think of science, technology, engineering, art, and math. But we really want you to understand it as integrating all of that into the classroom. Katie Axe is with us tonight. She's going to talk a little bit more about how that's happened in the second grade, and she's made that happen. But this is a huge part of what we have been able to do because of the participation levels that we're at. So we received $500,000 for our STEM program. That is huge. You all know the word Guizetta if you've been in Atlanta for very long. Um, Having that over 3 years allows us to do many things, and we want you to see our benchmarks. These are the deliverables that we want you all to know about, so that when they happen, you know they're going to happen, how they're going to happen. The big piece is being able to hire somebody to lead this and an assistant for them to be able to help lead that too. COVID hit us at a very unique time in our strategic plan. We were about ready to do some major things. You may remember land and layout and all the things that we were looking towards. But when there is a crisis, there's also an opportunity. And the building at the front of our campus on the East-West Connector in Atlanta Road has now become the Hive. It used to be a financial center. So you're looking at the grand opening picture here. We never stopped with our strategic plan. We're still expanding our facility. You may remember at the top of this picture, that big piece of property that looks green. We have put that on hold and gone to plan B as we look towards 1, 2, and 3. 1 is you all drive on every day. If you have a fourth grader at St. Benedict's, you drive on number 2. And if you have a 5th through 8th grader, you drive on campus number 3. We are focused on our strategic plan in order to make all of this possible and permanent. So plan B is not much different than plan A, which was to build on a campus across the street. That dream is still alive, but we wanted you to see that just because we're not going towards that, we have a plan for the middle school to move over onto the main campus. That's the pink building that you see there. The blue building is our current campus. The middle school building will be the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, 3 sections. That's 12 classrooms. If we never expand our student body into each one of those rooms, we have enough space for all of our specials. So this is a building that could last for many, many years to come. However, because of the excitement, if it does fill up, the yellow buildings is another phase to our strategic plan that allows us to build special buildings. And then phase 5 will be the gymnasium, which is currently the Hive. The good news, as you all know, we're already in this building, but it's already paid for. It did not come out of our operating budget. It was raised silently behind the scenes. Some of you on this call may have been a part of that. Thank you very much. And we just wanted to let you know that as we move into phase 2, which is a very real possibility, it's the ability to buy the land underneath us. So that is happening now. Again, it's a silent phase. It's a phase that we want people who can be a part of this to be a part of it, but we don't want to make a big blast about it. So that phase 3, building the middle school, phase 4, phase 5, they don't have a date around them that allows us to be flexible as we move into whatever post-COVID looks like. So wanted to give you an overview of all of this as we move on to, I think, one of the most important things that we are about. Again, if you know anybody who can give a large gift, if you have grandparents, if you have friends, Christy Brown, who's our CFO, and I, we're more than welcome to take an email. Or once COVID ends and we can sit around a circle and partake in adult beverages or barbecue or whatever, we'd love to raise some friends. Friend raising is one of my favorite words in lieu of fundraising. It just sends the message out. This is what St. Benedict's is about. We're a part of Smyrna. I think we have added a value to Smyrna, being able to have a choice for children who may not fit into the traditional school or the public school, but it's a school of faith. It's a school that allows other faiths and diversity to be in our midst. So again, I think this slide is what makes us who we are. Within our 4 walls, we are doing what other schools are doing within their 4 walls, and a river that runs through it, and a field, and all the other things that come along with it, but we're able to do it affordably. And what's important is those 4 walls were exceeding traditional standards and learning standards. And we brought Angela on a couple years ago to expand on this. And if you're not tired of my voice, it's too bad. You get a new voice. Angela is going to share with us a little bit about what she's been doing these last 2 years.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in this evening. As Brian said, we've got a set of standards, as every school does, right? But it's what you do with those standards that really matters. We are constantly engaging in research and best practice and sharing ideas so that we can enrich our curriculum. And that is what we teach. And then how we teach is pedagogy. And so, the two of those types of things every single day in every classroom, that's what makes the difference for your children at St. Bees, because our teachers are so engaging and they pour their heart and soul into everything that they do to make your students have the best experiences that they possibly can. And, as we are going along, assessment is an integral part of all of this. And that may look, like something as simple as observation, because we can do a lot of assessment through observation. It could be a writing assessment. It could be a reading or a math assessment. Or it could be, as they start to get a little bit older, starting in third grade, 3rd through 8th graders will take the ERB, which is a standardized test every spring. So, again, this is really how it all fits together. And then what you see and what your students see, or what happens in the classroom to make it all come to life. So last year when I arrived, we partnered with this company called Wright Research to create for us a customized assessment management system. And this is an internal database that we use really for a variety of things. One, to measure school progress overall. And so we house a lot of different data within that particular database. And then we can kind of manipulate it and create charts and graphs and do some comparisons to take a look at trends over time. We can look at trends through grade levels and or, like I said, trends over time, and kind of compare them to national averages. And, so we just wanted to share with you that that is something that we do kind of behind the scenes. About a year ago, before COVID hit, we had set forth some of our 2020 priorities. And, a few of those are outlined here. We knew we were in a position to expand 5th grade to 3 classes, which was the first time for 3 classes within a grade level to be on South Campus. And we have done that. And in addition to that, we transitioned 5th grade into middle school. So now we are K-4 lower school, and middle school is 5 through 8. And really wanting to emphasize that middle school culture. When I arrived last year, the South Campus is such a unique place because we're not bound by, hallways. All of our classrooms are kind of around the commons area. And I really wanted 5th grade to feel a part of that middle school culture. And so, our K through 4 students definitely have a lower school culture that is unique and vibrant, and they're ready for that change once they hit 5th grade. So believe it or not, your children will be there eventually. You have a few years left of lower school to enjoy. As Brian mentioned, the STEAM program at St. Bees has been in the works for several years. And certainly that was one of our priorities, to continue that program development, not knowing that we would get this Goizueta grant, certainly knowing that we were going to try. And so just the opportunities that this has opened up for us, not only next year, but already this year and into the summer. And then, as Brian said, for the next 3 years, we're really, really excited about the developments that we can make. And then faculty retention and growth. We have all become really close, and we are constantly sharing and constantly jumping on Zoom to have conversations. And we have all engaged in tremendous professional development in this past year, primarily in, the realm of technology. Not only have we all learned a lot as educators, but certainly your children have as well. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. So I know that 1st grade is not over yet. You still have many months to enjoy this 1st grade experience, and we hope that you absolutely love it and are having a wonderful year. but we also know that we always start to think ahead and make plans. And we wanted to give you a peek into what second grade will be like for your student next year. So this is our current second grade team. Mrs. Kloss has been with us as a second grade teacher for a long time, and she has transitioned into our remote learning teacher this year. And she's with us tonight, so she's going to be able to share a little bit about the curriculum with you all. Miss Axe, again, has been one of our second grade teachers for quite a while, and she's with us tonight as well. And Miss Axe transitioned back into second grade this year to take the students. We added a class of students that came back from remote learning in the fall. Miss Anderson, Miss Wallace, and Miss Guerra are our other lead second grade teachers. And then Miss Zambrano is our second grade associate. So I am going to turn it over to the teachers for the next few slides so that they can share with you all the cool and exciting things that happen in second grade.
Awesome, thank you. So I can, I guess, talk about responsive classroom. It's definitely a passion of mine. I love the kind of curriculum they set out of making a really just unique culture in the classroom. And responsive classroom starts with a morning message, as you can see on the right hand side. That's just an example of a way to kind of start the day on a positive note by greeting one another and kind of talking about what's to come.
All right, so math is one of my absolute favorite things to teach in second grade, because you go from where you're like kindergarten and preschool, you've learned how to count one-to-one correspondence, which is understanding that there's one thing and a number that goes with each. In first grade, they're starting to combine numbers, and now in second grade, they finally get to really do things with it. They start to understand that there's numbers all around them. And we've been using Envision Math this year, which has some great hands-on opportunities where we'll use manipulatives in the classroom. It combines visual aids that go along with the manipulatives, as well as the algorithm, where it starts to introduce to them what is happening, which is where you might see it differ a little bit from like when I was a child. We learned how to go next door and borrow. Well, now we use terms like regrouping, because we're now taking the tens and we're putting it as a group of one. And so that's where you get all those individual ones. And we use multiple strategies where we are using the concrete manipulatives, pictures, and in addition to the algorithm to help kids understand what's going on in the math. And what's really cool about that is you'll see that it meets needs of multiple learners. So a child might be able to use, 3 strategies to solve a problem, and they can explain to you what's happening, which is a little different from how I grew up as a child, where you just did it because you were told to do it and you didn't necessarily know what was going on. This has been a great addition. We've updated the curriculum this year.
Awesome. All right, so we use a couple different things for our literacy in second grade. This slide kind of focuses on our reading component, and Katie, obviously feel free to jump in on this part too if you want. We definitely focus on a lot of mentor text. You'll see that on the slide there, which really shows what we're doing. So we're connecting a literacy skill with a text that exists. With a mentor text means just kind of a book or a story that already exists that we read and make those connections between a book that we're reading and another story, or a book in their life, or a book in a movie, just making those connections.
Yeah, it also
across skills.
It also helps kids understand that, oh, I really love that book that we read that one week. Maybe I can find another one. And the more books and different genres that we expose the kids to, the better they are. And so lots of times we'll pull books. For example, coming up, we're studying character traits. And so we're going in, along with our Black History Month, we have a committee through the school. I don't know if you're aware, that has helped us, a parent group that's helped us put together some information to provide the kids in Black History Month. So we are combining informational books and working on character traits to help the kids learn about things. And we're constantly pulling new and up-to-date books, which also provides kids an opportunity to truly find what they love and have a love for reading.
Great.
You love your phonics.
I do. I love my phonics and I love my grammar. And so much so that like they're sitting right here next to me are my phonics and my grammar books. I get really excited whenever I can teach phonics and grammar. So phonics, we follow the Orton Gillingham model or structure, where it's pattern based. So we don't give a list of words. We don't say, okay, here are your 14 words, memorize them, spell them. Because we've realized if you give a pattern or a spelling rule, they end up being able to spell tons more words as opposed to just a few short words. And this way they can take those words, apply it to being able to read, write, and use those same smaller patterns when they get into older grades with larger multi-syllable words. And then grammar, we use Shirley Grammar, which is fantastic. So we start that in second grade, and it
might look like a foreign language at first,
yes,
but it's much easier. And you may get a little panicked at first because you're like, diagramming sentences, it's the best way we can compare it, right? And so you might think, oh my gosh, what am I getting into? But it gets really easy.
It does. And I like to kind of tell kids, it's almost like math in the beginning, where if you follow the pattern, you pick up on it really quickly. And my favorite thing about this Shirley Grammar is when you see the kids starting to get it and it starts clicking, you all of a sudden start seeing it in their writing. And then they're writing their sentences. It takes off, and they're able to write these beautiful sentences and beautiful paragraphs in second grade. And they can tell you why. And that's my favorite part about it, is they can say, this is a sentence because, and they can tell you exactly why. And I love being able to make that connection between the grammar and the writing, because especially at this point in the year, you can show a student their writing and say, hey, take a look at this sentence you wrote. What's missing? And they can go, oh, wait a minute. My sentence doesn't have a who or a what. I need to give my sentence a noun. And they can kind of see their own mistakes and correct them.
Yeah, this is the
I'll add one thing too, just in addition, with the addition of Seesaw this year, you can see on the slide, that's another place where they can practice. And, so not only are they able to work with a lot of sentences on the board and be really interactive in the classroom, they have their workbook. And now Seesaw is another place where they can, they can either type, which is what you see there in the red boxes, or those could also be given by the teacher kind of off to the side. And all they have to do is drag and drop them. They know they're these types of parts of speech, and then they can chop the sentence and talk about the pattern and is it declarative. And so there's so much interaction, and I'll tell you, they love doing it on the board, right? But now Seesaw added this whole other element of fun to grammar. I mean, who knew, right?
Yeah. And this is the time of year that the kids start teaching their parents how to do grammar again, which is really fun. All right, so social studies. So the kids get to learn about the history of Georgia, and they do a study on the different Native American tribes that were originally here. And that also gives them opportunities to learn about figures in history and how certain leaders came to be. Leaders like James Oglethorpe. I said it wrong too, didn't I? Oglethorpe. I can't talk tonight. And then, and Mary Musgroves. Geography, reading maps is one of my kids' favorite things. I have 3 kids at St. B's. One is in the nursery, and then I have a 3rd grader and a 4th grader. And ever since they were little, they love pulling out like the maps at the zoo and guiding us through. So actually getting to practice those map skills is huge. And the government, the part that we focus on here, works so well with the responsive classroom Elizabeth was telling us about. Rules and laws and that community that you develop within the classroom. It's really neat to see how kids work together to compromise and find ways to work together when they value the people in the classroom, as well as value the people in the communities around them. You really start to see how they talk about and how they notice things happening in their surroundings.
Hello.
Well, hello. So it's really fun to see, and
We
this year
love
was a
us
really
some
fun
Pippin.
year. This is always a fun year when we have an election to talk about, you know, how things work together. So. Oh, this one's science and math. Those are my favorites. And I could talk about them forever. Matter, I love hands-on. I love the kids working together, you know, learning about matter and heat energy, how molecules work. And having been at the upper school earlier this year, these things lay the foundation for what's coming. And while they may seem basic with what we're doing, providing hands-on opportunities just opens up so many doors for them as they get older. Last year, we were able to add in our simple machines unit, and we actually taught that remote, and all the parents, they said it was their favorite unit all year long, and they had so much fun with their students learning that. Right now we're doing space, and the kids are exploring all the planets and becoming experts, which all of that also helps teach our reading skills. Today in my classroom, the kids were working on making posters about the different planets, which we talked about our text features that we talked about in reading back in the fall. You know, where should we put bold words and bullet points, and how do I organize this so it's easy to read? And then coding. Elizabeth and I were part of the team when we first brought coding into 2nd grade. And this is one of those amazing things that has only been afforded to us by the Acorn Fund. And I remember we sat down, I was pregnant with my youngest at the time, and we sat down that year and we're like, man, is there a way we can find a way to get robots in 2nd grade? And you know what? We're like, well, maybe, probably not. But we kept it in the back of our head. Do you remember that? And all of a sudden, we had this amazing opportunity through the Acorn Fund. And we realized if we helped make sure that parents understood what this meant, that we could open doors, not only for one grade of kids, but every grade from here on out. So this year's current 5th graders, that was the first class that we had coding. And it kind of gives me goosebumps because we have come so far, and we got that huge grant, and I can't wait to see what we can do with it. The initial program, I think, launched with like $1,200. And we do it every Friday. The kids love the robots. It's so much easier to put a robot on the ground and to program it and see it turn the wrong way and realize you made a mistake versus your teacher saying, hey, something's not right here. Can you go fix it? You know, they laugh and they giggle when the robot makes a mistake, but sometimes like, are you sure, teacher? You know, like, I'm pretty sure that's right. And so it's a great way for them to learn and thrive on their own as well. Both my kids have gotten to live through coding. with having a third grader and a fourth grader. And, it makes me every year so excited to help add to that Acorn Fund. Oh, our Spanish team.
Yes. So, as Katie mentioned, so excited to add coding to the other grade levels as well. And one thing that you will actually see for your students next year is actually a STEAM co-curricular, and STEAM is integrated, right? And STEAM is done so much actually throughout the day already. But we really want to be intentional about some of the makerspace projects that we can do, and more robotics, right? And more coding. And so we really want to dedicate a co-curricular block to that next year. So that's in our schedule for our lower school, well, actually all lower and middle for next year as well. So that's going to be really exciting for your students. And then our second grade Spanish. So your teacher this year is Senora Garcia, and we have several lower school Spanish teachers, but this year, Senora Garcia is teaching second and fourth, and then Senora Castaneda is teaching first and third. And, we anticipate that that'll be something similar next year. It's always nice to kind of have a different teacher each year, but then also come back to them and cycle back. And so this year, Senora Zambrano has really been assisting a lot in the Spanish classes as well. So we have appreciated her help in that arena. And our co-curricular team. So the cool thing is most all of these faces stay exactly the same from first grade as they do in second grade. So those are some familiar faces that our students get to see from year to year. And, Miss Painter has just provided such an amazing opportunity for them this year with Zoom story time, being that they weren't able to actually travel to the library, but she's bringing that story time to them right in the classroom. And so they look forward to those stories every week that the teachers play, often during lunch. And then we have Coach Goodwin for PE, Miss Tyler for art, Mr. Walker for creative movement, CPC for not only sacred stories, but also our weekly chapel, and then Miss Bateman for music, and co-curricular classes have taken a different turn this year just from a scheduling perspective. We had to be really careful in August about exposure for students and teachers, and realizing that these 6 people here have, in a typical year, every single lower school student from kindergarten through 4th grade every single week. So, we're looking at upwards of 300 students every single week. So we knew in August we needed to make some adjustments. And so what we set out to do that first semester was limit student exposure to the adults and limit adult exposure to students. And your student has had kind of a rotation basis of a few co-curriculars each month. What we have done for January, and we're moving into February as well, just because our cases in the community are up, in the greater community in the state, they have had one co-curricular for the whole month of January, and now they're switching and we'll have one for the month of February. And that has really helped with exposure for everyone on campus. And students love it. I know the teachers love it too, because, as opposed to seeing them once a week all year, they've been able to really dive in and do some great units of study and projects, because they're not having to review quite so often. Like if they only saw Miss Tyler every Monday, she would have to review a lot of the skills that she did last week. So now she's able to see them, 4 and 5 days a week. And so it's been a really great year. So the cool thing is, we say, hey, always look for those silver linings, right? And one of the silver linings in COVID is that we have tried out every possible schedule scenario that's out there, I'm pretty sure. And I create those schedules, and I know poor teachers are so patient and flexible. But COVID has not made scheduling easy, although we are now prepared and equipped for any possible scenario that COVID could hand us for the fall. So we are hoping, again, we have no idea what COVID will bring, but we have several different plans in place for fall. And when it comes to, co-curricular classes and just regular classroom, we are hoping to be able to slowly get back to those pre-COVID times. So this is a sample second grade schedule. Not every homeroom has the exact same schedule because we have to balance, when they have their co-curriculars or, when they might have Spanish. So this would be an example of one homeroom where we start every day at 8:15 with morning meeting. And then, it just depends upon, Miss Claus might go into phonics or Miss X might actually go right into math, so it kind of depends upon the classroom and what time of day some of the other classes are. But you can see here, your students are definitely in second grade going to have at least one co-curricular every day. This year it has happened that sometimes there were 2 co-curriculars on a day. Recess was extended this year to 45 minutes. And that is something that we will keep in place next year because we all believe in unstructured play. And it's been fantastic to let them get outside for 45 full minutes of unstructured play. When you look at their day from 8:15 to 3:10, we can give them 45 minutes of unstructured play for sure. You can see there, we did put lunch in this year as a 45-minute block, but they definitely don't spend that much time eating. And so the teachers kind of create that other balance to that. Frenzy is a social emotional curriculum that we have put in place this year that is really fun and, a lot of conversation, and the students will engage in that with their homeroom teacher, usually just once a week, sometimes a little more often. And then you can see their Spanish in second grade is also 4 days a week, and that is one of our core classes as well. You can also see in different places, most of our science and social study is integrated, so the topics, it might be if they're focusing on the government, that some of the reading and the writing that they're doing would be focused on that social studies topic. And then again, second grade has chosen Fridays to do a lot of their coding. So that's always fun as well. So again, we're so proud of your students for embracing technology. I know, right? You're probably thinking, of course they're going to embrace technology, but just the resilience that they have. We all said, okay, everybody's going to have a new iPad and we're going to learn these new platforms, and they are quick learners and they have become such independent learners with Seesaw that is part of what we really love to see. So, I hope that you've been able to look at some of their Seesaw work and their journal. For those students who are remote, we use this more often because it's a great way for them to share all of their work with, Miss Claus. They can easily upload. You can see right there in Seesaw, there's an upload button, and they know how to take pictures and they know just how to upload it, which is way easier than trying to email it or upload it to a Google Drive. They're not quite ready for that. But at the same time, our in-person learners, we use this as a supplemental tool, right? We want them, in the event that they do have to go remote, that they're fully prepared with Seesaw, that they know how to use all of these tools. And these are some of the activities that we have used this year in second grade. So honestly, the activities are endless and so varied. You can see here's 2 different ways that our second grade teachers have created addition and subtraction with regrouping, right? One has them actually writing in the boxes. The other, this particular student has chosen to create a text box and type in there. And so that's the difference that you see. But that another student and that same activity may have used their, finger to actually write those numbers. And then you can see at the bottom there too, a subject verb agreement activity where the students don't actually have to do any of the typing. They have like usually at the top all of these endings of the sentences that they now have to drag and drop. And so, the teachers have had a lot of fun just with Seesaw in extending the learning and giving them kind of a different format for practice. And another key thing that we brought to St. Bees last year, and we are hoping to bring back next year, are our Bee Buddies. And so look at those faces. This really says it all when it comes to the Bee Buddies. Those sixth graders will mentor our second graders. We pair all of our students up. I know that for some of you, you were in kindergarten last year, and your students teamed with the eighth graders. And so as second graders, they would get to see a whole different group of students, and they would be mentored by our sixth graders. So we are certainly hoping that we can bring that back next year when we can mingle a bit. So your class will be the class of 2028 when they get to eighth grade. And it's so fun because you're just at the beginning of this journey with us. And we get to enjoy your students for many, many more years before they move on to high school. But we thank you for sharing them with us every day, and hope that you were able to get a little glimpse of what second grade will be all about next year. And so at this time, we want to open it up for questions. You are welcome to use the chat, or feel free. You can also just unmute yourself and ask any of us questions. And I know
Susan,
there was one question. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can come and get the yard sign at the front desk. Just ask either Londa or Molly, who usually is there at the front desk.
Yeah.
Will classroom stay smaller again for second grade? We haven't really figured that out yet. I think the big thing is what the spread of COVID is going to be. One thing we do know is that by spreading everybody out, we have put a tremendous burden on our teachers to be in the classroom by themselves. And in observing the kids moving around the classroom, we may be contemplating a little more density in the classrooms so that two teachers can be in the classroom at the same time. It alleviates the teachers a little bit. It also gives the students some interaction, so they're not hearing the same teacher at the same time, although as pleasant as the two teachers who just presented themselves, that's part of it. So we haven't made that decision 100%. Board meets at the end of February. I'm going to present something to them, get their approval on it, and see where we go. But like we did last year before we opened, we will likely meet if things are changing as rapidly as they did over the summer. Those of you who join those Zoom meetings monthly, that was just a way for us to say we're shifting gears. I think I began in May by saying we're not going to be wearing masks in the classroom. That shifted. So a lot of things have shifted even this year, even as soon as the last outbreak we had after Thanksgiving, just making sure we don't do certain things. So we'll keep the communication transparent as possible. One of the things that you may be asking is what the ratio is between student and teacher, and it'll actually lower student teacher ratio if there are two teachers in the classroom if we increase density just a little bit. So that will improve. We're educators, we can wait. Or we're educators, we can go home early. Any other questions? Feel free to unmute yourself. You don't have to use the chat. If there aren't any questions, and break in if you need to break in, we really do appreciate your time tonight. Your time is valuable. Putting together the state of the school in the midst of this was part of respecting your time. General question about COVID. Do siblings all have to quarantine if one is positive? The question, the answer is yes. The definition is direct contact to someone who's positive. So anyone who's positive themselves is in contact with anyone directly in contact with them. If I got sent home because I contacted someone else, my family does not have to quarantine. because they are secondary, I'm primary. But if in 2 to 3 days I go get tested, then they do have to quarantine. And that's usually how it helps. We've sent some folks home and they get in the car and parents are like, now do I have to quarantine? It's like, no, not until your child tests positive. Your family's fine to move about, but your child doesn't need to be going and playing with other children at this time because that's a direct contact. So I hope that helps. If not, unmute yourself and ask a qualifying question. As vaccines become more readable, available, and we experience herd immunity, will you begin to open the classroom? Yes. That's the short answer. The long answer is we have identified a company that can come on campus. We've surveyed our teachers. We know who wants vaccines. We're not going to make that mandatory for teachers. There's a lot of reasons why people do not want a vaccine, and we have to respect that. But a majority of our teachers do want to get the vaccine, and we're going to use that company to come on campus. I think just as recently as today, Governor Kemp said it's going to be a week or two before 1B is the category for educators can get vaccine. But the company I've talked to said, send your numbers in so we can reserve both the first and the second dose for them. And I think this company works with the county, so they get both Moderna and Pfizer, depending on what's available. So they're going to come and administer those. Grading. Whoa, we're moving fast now. Grading is
No, I answered.
Vaccine. You got it. Oh, is that you?
I answered that one on there so everyone could see
Okay,
it.
good.
Yep.
Good. All right. Yeah, there's a lot of research behind watching progress at early grades as opposed to having kids perform. We want kids to learn and want to love to learn as opposed to trying to get performance and grades and that kind of thing. And Angela can go into that ad nauseum if you want to do a private Zoom with her.
I know, right? Yeah.
Second grade is, in my opinion, one of the best years at St. B's, just so you know. I might be a little partial to it, but it is really fun. And you see kids come in at the very start of the year, and they always seem so small and so little. And by the end of the year, like Elizabeth, you can chime in too. I always look at them and I'm just floored at how much they grow, how much they gain with independence. You know, we're not fighting to write through a sentence. We're writing paragraphs. We're reading and researching and taking notes. And it's so neat to see those kids come into their own. And cursive is not second grade. That's a third grade skill. No worries on the questions. That's why we're
Yeah,
here.
that's what we're here for.
Yep. Keyboarding starts in 4th grade, so they get the balance of right brain, left brain.
I like to say right now it's coding, cursive, and keyboarding. Second, third, fourth. Next year will be coding the whole way through though.
Yep.
Coding is awesome.
What do you think about the biggest challenges are for 2nd grade, and what's the best way to support them as a parent?
Okay.
Go for it, Katie.
Good.
I would say independence. Start now.
Yep.
Coach your kids. Like my kids, you know, my daughter was born when my kids were in kindergarten and 1st grade, and I teach, and we'd headed out the door, and we always said, hey, you're in charge of packing your snacks each day. You're in charge of filling up your water bottles. Those little things make all the difference in the world, because when kids have to be responsible for something, they take ownership, and they can do a lot more than you think they can. The other big things, read every day, 20 minutes. It won't take that much time. Elizabeth would probably tell you 30. Just read, even if it's the back of a cereal box, a magazine, a toy, something, a recipe. Read, because it makes such a difference, especially as we get into spelling and writing and even vocabulary. Exposure is awesome. And if you have a TV in the car, turn it off, listen to a book. They get exposed to so much more by listening, whether it be vocabulary, and they can say, oh, what was that word? What did it mean? I like the way it sounded. And then math facts, mastery of math facts. And a math fact is flashcards all the way up to 20, is what I always say. And, just start practicing 5 minutes a day, pick a set of, 20 cards, practice till you have those 5 mastered, and then take one out and add a new one in, and slowly do that. It makes a big difference, and is absolutely huge. We have a whole lot more questions now, but
one was about field trips, and that that's the question of how, when, and where we'll be able to spread out into the world. We are bringing the Alliance Theater onto campus over the summer. So again, those opened up today, so jump on that. And we'll see what we can do creatively. As you have witnessed, we have some very enthusiastic and creative teachers who understand more than we do as administrators. Well, maybe not more than Angela, but more than I do, what they're missing out on this year by all the restrictions. So we'll do what we can. Summer packets, Katie?
Yes.
Yep, definitely will send him the summer packets.
Yeah.
Those are a great tool to just keep practicing.
Anne usually emails them out. Well, Angela, I don't know if you did it last summer, if it was Anne.
Yeah,
Either one get emailed out pretty early in June. And then I also saw another question about how will
critical thinking was a big one. Yeah. And I think Angela, you probably can talk more about STEM and how integration of curriculum is going to happen.
Our math curriculum works on critical thinking
daily.
It really, really does. One of my favorite questions is, even the first grade book, I think, has a similar one. When you open it up, there's a front page for each lesson. And then the next one, I can't remember the name, but it's on the left-hand corner. What'd you say?
Convince me.
Convince me. Yeah.
First grade has it too.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too in second grade is you're really in the reading curriculum, you're really switching from learning how to read to reading to learn. And that also is a big builder in that higher level thinking is, okay, now you go find it in your reading.
Yeah. And about field trips, a couple years ago, we went to Mercedes-Benz Stadium as a STEAM-based field trip. And I have gotten information for an online-based tour or field trip through Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So I'm hoping we can get that running in second grade soon. So even if we can't go out there, but truthfully, as a teacher, I know this year is different. It's not exactly how you dream second grade would be, where you could come in and be mystery reader or have lunch with your kid on their birthday. And, Father Brian said, and I don't remember if it was Father Brian or Angela, like, it's different. We want to add more to it, make it better. But just because it's different doesn't mean it's bad. We've still had a blast. Yeah. My class is so tight. They love each other to pieces. And it's provided a different opportunity, while not how you really, really dreamed it would be, but I wouldn't trade it. Yeah. So maybe the masks a little bit, but that's about it.
Anyway. Another.
Awesome. Well, I just saw somebody come into the waiting room for the next meeting. Any last minute questions we can answer? But if there aren't, and you are just holding on to a question, any one of us are available to answer those questions. So feel free to reach out to us by email if you want to contact one of the teachers. I think those are on the website, or we can definitely get you in touch with them. Great. Well, thank you all again. Time is the most valuable thing that we have, and you all have given us over an hour, so we appreciate it. St. Benedict's is an incredible place. We could talk all night about it, but we all have things to do. You have children to put to bed.
Thank you.
So see you all in the morning.
Thanks, everyone.